Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Grandparents Podcast. How you doing, Kano? How's it going?
Woohoo! I'm doing
Woohoo!
good today. I'm very
I'm
excited. It's
very,
Thursday.
I'm glad to hear that. It's Thursday. Now you guys know when we record these.
Yep, now you know the secrets.
I just want to start off by saying thank you very much for the love that we received on the very first episode. You guys are very awesome, and we have now a plethora of questions that we are going to try and get through today at
Oh
our
yeah,
Q&A
so many
section.
questions.
But I guess to start it off with, we're going to talk about what's going on in the world of Twitter and YouTube and all those lovely things, your daily dose of our opinions on matters that happen. One of
Yes,
them
all the
being
things.
uh one of them being is there's a huge uproar right now with one of Mr. Beast's most current video, or most
Mhm.
recent video I should say, where
Yes.
he donated a bunch of money to help 1,000 people see again. And
Mhm.
there's a huge uproar about it because obviously everyone is going to put their opinions in, especially when your video has 72 million views on it. That's a
Yeah.
lot of people putting their input in. One of the biggest things is people, like, it's a whole like capitalism thing, it's a whole healthcare thing. It's also
Mhm.
like we do have a tweet reference that will be in the YouTube description
Mm.
um of Hassan reacting and talking about how this procedure that was getting done on these people is a 10-minute procedure and it's pretty much paywalled. And it's a whole
Mhm.
thing. A lot of people are upset that just in general, like the fact that it costs so much money to get a procedure to have people see again. A lot of people are like, why would you approach this as people are being cured? People with disabilities don't need to be cured in a sense. And
Mm.
honestly, like Mr. Beast tweeted, he goes, Twitter, rich people should help others with their money. Me. Okay, I'll use my money to help people and I promise to give away all my money before I die. Every single penny. Twitter, Mr.
Mhm.
Beast bad.
Mhm.
So I think it's really interesting because I agree in the sense of it sucks that it's literally this procedure to help people see is paywalled.
Right.
um but I also agree with the fact of like Mr. Beast has a voice, and instead of using the voice to talk about that, it was just like, "Hey, I make a lot of money, so I'm gonna, like, pay for these people to get this procedure," but not talk or, like, touch on the fact that it's a bad thing, you know? Like,
Right.
a lot of people are like, "Yeah, you did a good thing, but this," and there's always going to be a but, and I can see it from their point of view.
Right.
What are
But
your
yeah, but
thoughts?
it's hard when well, I guess there's that mix of like, yeah, his response does kind of come across a little bit callous in
Mm,
that, he, you know, I mean his job ultimately, despite the fact that he quotes himself as a philanthropist, he's a YouTuber at heart. He's
yeah.
making content that's entertaining for people, and so I think for a lot of people that kind of struck them as that's just a classic YouTuber tweet of someone, they're doing something that they want to do, and of course their only response would be that it's like, oh
Mhm.
yeah, they're gonna put it like very much in their favor, um, in whatever way. Um, so I think that there's definitely that element, but at the same time, like, and this is actually what I was thinking when I was watching the video, is it reminds me a lot of growing up. There used to be these, there's like extreme makeover home edition type shows,
I used
where
to
they
love Extreme Home
like
Makeover.
yeah, like where it's like you're taking someone who's desperately in need or has like a disability, or maybe there's some struggle in mind with the family,
Yes.
and they are part of it. They apply to be part of this program, and then the show would come and renovate the whole house for free. in
Mhm.
essence. Like they do all this work and take care of it, with the only payment really being that they're on TV and their information is being publicized to some extent. But like that's kind of where some of the what Mr. Beast was doing kind of fell into that category where but the
Yes.
caveat is it still feels a little bit different, but for a better reason. Because like when I think back at those shows, like now, a lot of times people go back and are like, well, now we can look at those shows 10 years later and you see the consequences of those actions. Like these people got these houses they couldn't use, or they had to like sell them back anyway because the rent became too much. Like the area became affected. Like there were a lot of really negative consequences to some of the choices that
Oh,
were made
true,
to
yeah.
make these houses come to life. Whereas Mr. Beast is doing something that has very individual impact, makes a substantial difference in a number of people's lives, and is I mean, obviously he's choosing to do something that's going to get him clicks, but does that disregard the fact that he's doing it also because he knows it's a good cause to do that for? Like he's got a really unique business strategy in that in essence
Mhm.
what he's doing is he's constantly trying to fundraise his own philanthropy
Yeah.
by constantly one-upping
Yeah.
his own philanthropy efforts.
Yeah.
Um, and like and the thing is it's like his content, not for me. I don't
Yeah.
subscribe to Mr. Beast.
No.
I don't really care for him all that much. It's not that he's a bad individual. I really don't think that in that way. But I also am kind of like it's not for me. That's not the kind of like stuff I really care to watch anymore. But I can see why a lot of people watch it because again, his content feels very much like those shows that I remember as a kid. I was like, wow, I really like
Mhm.
this. This feels makes me feel hopeful about how people are treated in the world. Like there's good people out there who want to do good things for others. And I think now that all those kids are so jaded, as our generation has grown
Yeah.
up, we all are
Yeah.
like, really? Can anyone actually be that good? Are they like actually gonna be that fantastic? And yeah, do I think Mr. Beast probably is, being deliberately choosing? Yeah. But the way he also
Yeah.
stages his videos is he tries to make them informational. He's not necessarily like, yeah, he's working to make money like anyone else does.
Mhm.
So why would we like attack him for things that every other YouTuber does in the same space? Like he
I think
certainly,
their
yeah, he
biggest
tries
gripe
to
was,
hold
like,
him.
that he didn't like, sorry to cut you off, but, like, I
No,
feel
you're
like
fine.
his biggest, like, everyone's biggest gripe was that, like, yeah, he touched on, like, it a bit about, like, how easy this procedure is and, like, helping people out and that thing. I think a lot of people are, like, under the impression that he is, like, adding to the capitalism, and if he's saying he's not, he's also not talking about it, or he didn't, like, address, like,
Right.
the big like, how this affects it. I think people are like, "Yes, you did this thing for these people, but you're still giving money to the people who are paywalling it. You're just furthering their their reason to keep it as a paid service because, well, 1,000 people got their eyesight back and it was paid for, so, like, why can't other people?" Like, I feel like and, like, this is no shade at, like, the doctor or anything that performed the procedure because obviously the doctor is there to help. Um, but I think, like, a lot of people were more like, you're contributing versus, like, talking about it. And I don't really know if there was any other way to go about it. It's just that,
Right.
like, that's the reason why it became big and, like, popular, people, like, griping, being like, "You're contributing to capitalism," and it's like, he he can say something about it, but him as one person, despite the amount of money that he has, can't break capitalism and change capitalism.
Right.
And this is all coming from a standpoint of, like, very little knowledge of capitalism, um, and, like, healthcare capitalism, because I am very fortunate to live in Canada where majority of our healthcare is free. I don't know about this
Mm.
specific procedure, however, if something like that would be free here, but I would wanna say at the very least, like, 90% of insurances here would cover that procedure. Um, or you like, I don't know, there's like payment plans and stuff like that. I'm not really
Gotcha.
100% sure, but a lot of our healthcare is free. So, I always it always breaks my heart like hearing about the struggles that Americans go through when it comes to not being able to get the necessary health care to just like
Mhm.
live. And it's so heartbreaking. Like Lauren, like a while ago, twisted her ankle and she's pretty sure she like broke her foot, but like couldn't go into the hospital because, like, it was gonna cost her a ton of money just to even get looked at, and I think
Right.
that's, like it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, there's definitely faults in the system. It's hard because again, and I mean, I'm a product of capitalism, so I have a very much my mind set is shifted by that. But it's hard for me to
Mhm.
think about a universal healthcare truly being effective with certain things. Like I understand that I think it's important. There's a baseline that is covered regardless. Like you should be able to go to a doctor and have them diagnose you for something. But I also
Yeah.
understand the same way even with my own job where I'm like, it's hard when I'm like, well, everything I want to do, I want to get paid for. And when a government or people are like, I don't know if this is important enough for me to want to pay for, I don't want to pay for someone else's things. Um, it gets really complicated because then it's
Yeah.
all about people and what they're willing to spend their money on.
Well, the
And
way that it works here in Canada, from my understanding, is like, our taxes are so high because a percentage of them goes into healthcare,
mhm,
um, and that healthcare then gives back. So it's the government that is paying for it, but, like I don't know, like, I come from a standpoint where it's like, yeah, I'll pay 13% on the dollar because it goes into things that I don't have to worry about later. Because it doesn't just affect other people, it also affects me. If I wanna go in and get looked at by a doctor, I am technically paying in advance through my taxes, and it's less stressful that way, and, like,
mhm.
I don't know. I don't know if it's just like America or if it's like the human thing, but we kind of touched on it a little bit on like last week's episode of like what's mine is mine. And like
Mm.
there's a lot of people who are like not willing to help even if it's like an indirect way of helping. Even if it takes like zero effort from them, like paying a little bit more on your taxes, which you get that money back at the end of the year as well. You get like a lump sum for paying so much to the government.
Right.
Um, like, they don't even wanna do that. They're like, "I don't want higher taxes. I don't wanna pay for someone else's healthcare." It's like, "Okay, well, then, like, don't complain about, like, homeless people who, like, can't afford housing or, like, don't have necessary healthcare and they're throwing up on the street because they're sick," or, like, like, don't complain about, like, hospital wait times because there's so many people, like, trying to get in to see the same doctor you are, but if there was
Mhm.
more money going into healthcare and there was more doctors who actually wanted to like work because I feel like there's a lot of doctors who do want to help um and like but they can't do it like pro bono because it would be like against wherever they're working. It's not even
Right.
like them as a person. Um there is like I understand like I'm putting in the work. Um I want to get paid for it. Um But at the same time, like, in my opinion, when it comes to healthcare, like, they went to school and they signed up for, like, a lot of schooling because I feel like most doctors' ultimate goal is because they wanna help people. But then, like, they become corrupt with, like, the money because, like, doctors make a lot of money, but then people, like, it's like a whole weird, like, circle, and it, like, all
Yeah.
comes back in on itself, and it's just like, "Where did it even start? How did this even
Mhm.
happen? How did we get here?" Kind of thing, and I don't know,
Yeah.
like, I see it from, like, all points of views. Um, I don't think, like I really don't think that Mr. Beast should have probably said anything about it in a tweet. Um, Afterwards, I do think that maybe should have said something a little bit more or talked a little bit more in the video about it and how, like, awful it is, but I don't know, maybe his video might get taken down if he's, like, slandering the government. I don't know.
Right. Or
So,
maybe yeah, I mean, especially when he's in the position he's in, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some level of like I use this word in a specific way, but like politicking involved, where it's this
yeah.
idea of like you have to cater to a lot of different kinds of people groups. And so in order to be able to go into a hospital and be able to film these different things, I wonder if there's some level of like, hey, we only talk about certain pieces of this puzzle. We
Yeah.
can't really complain about certain things because if we
Only
do,
talk about the surgery,
then
like
who's
that kind
gonna
of thing.
allow for certain things? There could be a lot of like legal pieces to it too, or
Yeah.
or he could just be being a weirdo. Who knows? There's a lot of pieces to that
Or it could
puzzle.
be a weirdo. Well, on the other side of things, Creator Clash 2 is coming up, which is complete
Hmm.
opposite of it. It's an entire event specifically for just charity, which I think is
Yep.
really funny.
Content
Um
creators getting punished to get money from
yeah.
people.
If you don't know what Creator Clash is, they had their first annual one last year where iDubbbz went against Dr. Mike in a boxing match. It is a big event where they have multiple different creators coming in and going head to head against other creators. And all the proceeds, or not all the profit, sorry. Any profit that they would have made off of the event go into multiple different charities. Um, so the second one is coming up. And I mean, if we had done this podcast last year, I would have talked about it then, but I'm really excited for it this year because Marisha Ray is in it. And Marisha Ray is
Yes,
from
Immersia
Critical Role.
Ray. Exactly.
And
She's
I
also
just
Canadian.
wait.
Not really, but
Okay. No, it's not. Kano is referring to a one shot we watched where she did a really bad Canadian accent, and now he
Mhm.
likes to bully me with it. But yeah, so that is coming up. If you're wanting to watch Creator Clash, I know I'm giving a little promo for them. I believe it goes up on iDubbbz's channel a couple days or a week after it actually airs. But if you want to support it, it is a pay-per-view type broadcast. So you'll pay for it and then you'll be able to watch it. And then whatever you pay will go towards multiple different charities. So Critical Role Foundation is actually going to be one of the charities, but they are also going to be donating to the Able Gamers charity, American Heart Association, Paralympic Sports Association, National Alliance of Mental Health, the Longest Day, Alzheimer's Association, and many more other great charities. You can find all their information on their website, which will also be linked down in the description. But the thing that gets me the most about Creator Clash is, in my opinion, and I feel I've talked about this before with people, is last year they had Dr. Mike. And I feel like not a lot of people know who Dr. Mike is, but at the same time, I feel like a lot of people do. He is like an actual registered doctor that does like reactionary content. But this year's headliner is iDubbbz and Alex Wasabi. And the only reason why I know Alex Wasabi is because he dated Laura DIY. And she's like a big
Mm.
DIY YouTuber. I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of people are not going to know who he is. And like, I don't think anything will change in regards to like viewership or turnout or whatever. But like, if you're going to have a headliner, don't you want like a big YouTuber? Like, you have like Jacksepticeye and Markiplier and what's her name? Nimity or Emitted? I can't remember her name for the life of me. But you have like these like Twitch streamers and YouTubers who are like hosting this event, but like you don't have like a big name on like the big fight, on the main event.
Right.
I don't know, maybe that's just like me being picky, but I personally think that you should have like a big name. Like you gotta like one up yourself every year, you know? And I don't want to like,
Basically.
I just want to preface, this is not Alex Wasabi slander. I just like, I haven't really seen any of his content since he dated Lauren DIY a couple years ago. And like, I think he does daily vlog content, but I'm sure that there's like millions of people out there that like his content and watch him, and they're probably like super excited to have him.
Mhm.
Do you have any thoughts on a Creator Clash and its whole premise?
I mean, I think as a whole, I mean, maybe it's just because when it comes to like events like these, there's some like I want to say bitterness in my mouth about it, which sounds really bad coming from what you're saying. I
No, I want to
am
hear.
I'm never a big fan of watching people fight each other
Mm.
physically
Yeah.
ever. Like I was never big into wrestling. I didn't like watching wrestling. I never really even like certain like there's all like
Don't tell
YouTuber
Lucario that.
like big things where it's like bump. I know, yeah, he would be. Oh man. But like I just didn't care for like that physicality of it. And so then in
Mhm.
the sense of like creator clash, I'm like, oh boy, it's just gonna be people fighting. Like that's not again my cup of tea really to want to indulge in. But at the same time, I do appreciate the fact that because of what it is and because of the way that they tend to recruit people, um, you know, these people are really doing this for charity. Like
Yeah.
they're invested. And so it's like that in that sentiment, I think it's a really cool way of being able to do that, to be able to achieve it because you're getting people who are interested in it and willing to participate, but they're not looking to fight. They're looking to earn money.
Mhm.
And so I think that in itself is really cool. But yeah, otherwise it's like, yeah, fighting, gross.
Uh,
That's I'd
but
much rather watch like people like I'd rather watch like a Minecraft event where I could see people playing a game that doesn't involve physical harm to themselves personally,
Oh. I think
but
it'll
that's
still
not as
have,
exciting or
like
clickbaity.
yeah, I think it'll still have a good, like, turnout of people because I didn't even know it was a thing until, like, my friend was like, "Yeah, I'm doing, like, a whole, like, watch party on it." Like, like, how people would
Mm,
do, like, UFC nights and, like, UFC
yeah,
watch parties? It's kinda like Super Bowl Sunday, like, that kinda thing. They'd be like, "Yeah, we're gonna
basically.
pay to watch it, and we're gonna have, like, food, and we're all gonna hang out and, like, blah, 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 blah." So, I didn't even know this was a thing, and then I went and watched it, and it was so funny. Like, just, like, the interviews and, like, leading up to it and, like, the way that they presented, like, other creators and, like, getting to see creators, like, I knew and I liked was also really
Mhm.
cool. So I'm sure, like, there'll be creators that people will wanna see, but I think it's interesting because it brought like, regardless of the fighting, it still brings in people who are not necessarily big fans of it. Like, I'm not a huge fan of, like, UFC or anything like that. Like, I've never
Mm,
really watched it or really got into it. But I still was like, I wanna know what happens. It's very much intriguing my, like, need to know of what's going
right.
on. Um, and I don't know, I just thought it was, like, a really cool concept, and I was just I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was cool. I didn't like the
Yeah.
fighting, but, like, the whole thing is it. But, again, links will be in the YouTube description as well, if you wanna go and check out Creator Clash. It's just the Creator Clash on Twitter. Um where they will have the whole lineup and maybe some of your favorite creators will be on there and you can see it.
Yeah.
Um, but speaking of content creators and Twitch streamers, we're getting into the really interesting one now. And I thought this
Mm.
was so funny because I, prior to this, didn't know what a deep fake was, which is might be a
This was
lot of you might know what it is, but Kano, do you care to
yes.
explain what a deep fake is for the
Yes.
people who don't know,
So
like
no,
me?
well, yes. Well, it was quite hilarious when well, this is me feeling bad, but also being like, haha, I'm your friend. This is really funny. But
Go ahead,
what
roast me.
but Mousy originally thought that a deep fake had a very sexual innuendo to it, because of the controversy that we're about to talk about. But
Yeah.
it was just really funny when it's like, no, that's not really what a deep fake is. A deep fake specifically is basically computer AI getting trained to be able to take an actor. So when I say actor, I mean like a person who's doing some sort of activity, and overlaying a person's image, um, basically onto that person. And so in essence, like I remember when I first learned about deepfakes ages ago, the biggest one was that there's this, clip of like Obama saying the most ridiculous things. And then you find out, well, no, that wasn't actually President Obama at the time saying any of these things. It was an impersonator basically who had someone do a deep fake over his face. So he looked like Obama. He sounded like vaguely like him because he could do the impression really well, saying these
Mhm.
things. And it blew up and everyone's like, whoa, what is this? And so that's basically what deepfakes are technology. It's technology taking the likeness of somebody and putting it onto
Mhm.
somebody else who is acting out some sort of action to make it look like someone else is doing something else. Which segues very well into what specifically this issue was, if I can
Mhm.
preface it, because I feel like this is something I could also talk pretty well about um, from the research standpoint. But
Sure.
there was a really, really big issue where it was pretty bad. But basically, there's a Twitch streamer, Atrioc, who was found out to
It's
have
so bad.
not only have watched but also commissioned deepfakes of Twitch streamers Pokimane and Maya, like
He
doing
paid
sexual
for
acts.
them. He
He
paid
paid
for them.
he paid for them, and then goes out and be
Oh.
like, I'm really sorry this happened, and then it's just I don't know. Again, I'm trying to say it as a straight news perspective first. But basically, it was announced that that he had been found out, and he quote unquote apologized for it. Sobbing, being like, "This is what I did. Can't believe I did this." And then the responses that were made by the people, obviously Pokimane and Maya were horrified by this, completely
Oh,
and
yeah.
utterly.
Pokemon
Um,
taking, like, the stance of, like, "Just don't do it. Like, you're an idiot.
yeah,
Like, just don't do stuff like that. Like,
right.
don't, like, assume that it's real." Like, if you don't know the community and you don't know, like, the person, like, just don't it's weird. Don't do it.
Yeah, no, exactly. But even then, it was like, from what I remember, it's like there was actually like this level of like they were at least work acquainted with each other, and so it's like that's like really messed up. That it's
Yeah.
almost like you commission some like one of your friends, and it's like I want to see them do this. Can I pay
Yeah.
someone to take their likeness and put it into an AI and then overlay it over somebody else having
Yeah.
sexual intercourse
Yeah, like
and
that
then
like
watching it?
oh my god, it's
Like
so
it
cringe.
was it's
Like
so cringe. So
it's so
like
like
mm,
imagine imagine you have like a coworker and you're like, "Wow, they're really hot. I would love to know what they look like while doing these things." Like that's so and then you pay for it. You pay
yeah,
like this stuff I can only imagine is not cheap. Like anything that has to do with like animation or
yeah.
tracking or like that level of editing is not cheap. It's like
Mhm.
it's so funny, and my favorite thing to come out of this
Yeah.
is, Liv Bevan, uh, now a former member of the Girls TTV. If you don't know who the
Mhm.
Girls TTV is, essentially is a group of, Twitch and YouTube creators that came together to make a YouTube channel called The Girls. One of my favorite Twitch streamers is in it, Paladin Amber. She recently left The Girls, to pursue music, which is really fun. Um, but she tweets, "I've struggled letting people disrespect me in past relationships. But I can tell you one thing I wouldn't be caught dead doing, and it's crying in the background of my husband's stream after he got caught watching paywalled deepfake porn of our friends. He's simply never seen me again." And for context, for anyone who's listening, the video is him sobbing and apologizing, and his wife, correct? Just crying in the background. Like she's not in focus. She's just sobbing, wiping her nose. Like it feels even worse and even more cringy that she's there because it almost feels like she had to like mommy him to do this. Like, like she's almost there, like making sure that that he apologizes, right? Like, have you ever been in a situation where like you did something and like you didn't want to apologize, but like your mom made you and like stood behind you, arms crossed, like, "Go on, sweetie, say what we talked about." Like it feels like
Mhm.
that, and it's so oh, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. It's so cringy, and like
Yep.
granted, at the same time, she might have just been there to support him, and, like, it is, like, they're friends, so, I mean, she probably feels some level of responsibility, but, like, it's just I think
Yeah.
it's so funny. I don't
No,
know
it's
why,
it's yeah,
but oh my
it's
god.
I don't know. It's one of those things where just it's yeah. I think it's
Speechless.
really sad and it's a shame, but it's also there very clearly were people who were responsible, and
Mhm.
it's hard to know if they really took accountability if they even went through with it in the first place. Um so yeah, but yeah, so it's just I don't know. Again, don't deep fakes,
Yeah,
don't get them. Please don't,
don't pay for them, don't
especially
watch
not in that
them. Like, just be safe on the internet. Like, I'm not here to be one to shame when it comes to what you like in the bedroom. I don't
Mhm.
wanna be one to shame. But, like, I feel like that is just excessive, and, like, keep it like, just don't do like, if you're gonna do it, don't do it with your friends. Like, or, like, about your friends, you know? Like, that's the weirdest part. Like, celebrities, I I kind of understand because they get, like, sexualized and they get looked at as, like, higher beings, like, all the time, whatever. But, like, there is a plethora of things that you can watch on the internet of people who literally do it for a living. Pun not intended. But, like, like, you don't need celebrities or Twitch streamers. You have people who are, like, in the industry. Support them instead, okay? Because this doesn't support anybody. This doesn't support Pokemon in any way, shape, or form, you know? Just yeah,
It's just cringe.
it's
Cringe all
just
over the
cringe.
place.
Yeah, but with that being said, I feel like we should move into our "Should I Be Scolded" segment because
Mm.
Atrioc should be scolded and is scolded, in my opinion.
Yes.
So
Mhm. No, very true. Mhm.
he is the a-hole in this situation.
Yep. No questions
um,
there.
yeah, no. I am gonna start off with probably the longest one, and
Okay.
then we can do like the shorter one. Actually, they're all kind of pretty long, so I'm gonna try and make this quick. All right, so should I be scolded for moving to a hotel because my wife's family insisted I sleep on the couch? Um, my wife and I got married last summer. Her family lives across the country from us, so up until this point, I never actually visited them. But I had met them a handful of times, and we've always gotten along fine. They invited us to come up and visit and stay with them for a few days, and we took them up on the offer. We flew in yesterday, and everything went well. Her dad and I watched football while she caught up with her mom and sisters, and then we had a really nice dinner. But things went south at the end of the night when it was made clear that they didn't want me sharing a bed with my wife while in their home, and that they expected me to sleep on the couch. I honestly thought they were joking at first, but they insisted we sleep separately. I had a problem with the implication that I shouldn't be allowed to sleep next to my wife, and I also have a bad back, and the couch did not look the least bit comfortable. They don't have a guest room. After arguing back and forth for a bit, a book uh I decided to leave and book a hotel. I told my wife she didn't have to come with me. She chose to stay, and I said I'd come back the next day. I went off to a Marriott about 10 miles, I'm assuming. Not meters. That would be way too close.
Yeah, Brett 10M, yeah.
10 miles away and got a good night's sleep, trying not to let the whole situation bother me. This morning, I called my wife asking when I should come by. She told me her parents want me to apologize for leaving the way I did. I told her that I'm willing to apologize to keep the peace, but they need to acknowledge that it wasn't appropriate to insist I can't share a bed with my own wife. She said she talked to them and call me back. About 10 minutes later, I hear back from her, and she tells me that not only will they not apologize for it, now they're insisting I need to come back and stay on the couch for the rest of our visit. And if I don't agree, I am not welcome back in their house. I'm pretty livid at this point. I told her that there's absolutely no chance that I will do that, and I am no longer willing to offer any sort of apology. My wife's sisters are now bothering me saying this is just the way their parents are, that my wife is very upset and that I need to give in and stay on the couch for the rest of the trip before this turns into some sort of family feud. From my perspective, I don't care what they think, and I'm willing to treat the rest of this trip as a solo vacation, go sightseeing, meet my wife back at the airport at the end of the week. Am I the a-hole?
Mm.
No, this is so funny.
Yeah, no, I think it's very yeah, I think it's one of those things where it's like, I guess it's my thinking is it makes me laugh how offended the parents are
Yes.
when it's like you in essence sort of scrubbed your hospitality a little bit when you already say this is where you're limited to being. Um like
Yeah.
Like, yes, like, you could make that choice, but it's also kind of like, but then why would there even be this idea of inviting someone and saying, "You have to sleep on the couch?" Like,
Yeah.
he's not her boyfriend.
That's
We're
what I'm
married.
thinking. Yeah. Like, if they were,
Like
like, boyfriend and girlfriend, understandable. Like, yeah, you're not, like the parents want to, like, limit the amount of, like, possibilities that could happen with, like, sleeping next to, like, a girlfriend but, like, this person married this woman and wants to spend the rest of their life with them, potentially have kids with them, sleeps in the same bed already. Like,
mhm,
and why didn't you say this before they even made the trip up there?
right. Like, why wasn't the expectation that was set? And I think
Yeah.
what's the cherry on top really is the fact that they expected him to come back and sleep on the couch for the rest of the trip, being like, you can't go to the hotel." Like, why not? That's his choice. He has the right to do
Yeah.
whatever he wants to do. Why does it matter if he stays in your house if it's gonna cause these other issues? Um, because they're the ones who are instigating it. So it feels very much like they're the ones who set the problem, and then they're making it his problem for having
Yeah.
made the choice he made
They
when
They
they
set the problem. They made it a problem, and then when he found a solution, they were like, "No, you're not allowed to do that. You can't have
Yep,
a solution. You have to do what we say." And it's like, you're my mother-in-law, not my mother. Thank you, but
yeah,
no.
exactly.
Like, that's so funny.
Yes.
What would you say? I say no, that they're
Yeah, no,
not.
I definitely think he's not.
Okay.
He should not be scolded for this. That's yeah. He,
All right. There's an
especially
update.
when it doesn't even seem like his wife had much problem with it either way. Like, she seemed fine. She's probably upset because it's a lot of drama, but she's not upset with him.
Yeah, no,
Like,
she's just like, "Please just, like, apologize," and he's like, "No, like, F off. I'm not gonna apologize because they created a problem that's, like and they're trying to make it mine," and she's just like, "Oh god, now I have to deal with my parents," and, like, the, like, lack of support not lack of support, that's, not what I meant, but, like,
yes.
she probably feels unsupported in this, but it's like, "Your parents put him in this position." Um, there is an update. They said,
Ooh.
"Wow, I didn't expect this post to blow up the way that it did. Thanks for all the responses and awards. I took the advice of one of the posters here and to ask my wife and sisters to meet me for dinner apart from their parents. I was interested. It was interesting to say the least." I should also preface that everyone voted that they're not. Um, everyone's on an agreement. Um, they said, after we sat down, I leaned into them a bit about what had happened. I asked my wife if she knew her dad was going to demand we sleep separately, and she said she was surprised by it as well. She'd expect that if we were to still just be her boyfriend, but we're now married. I then asked them if they all thought it was okay for their parents to act the way they did. They said it wasn't, but they know their father, and it's best to just let things like this go. Also, if you hear Caramel screaming in the background, he's fine. He's playing with
Meow, meow,
the toy.
meow.
He's like, "Where are you? Let me play with my toy." This led to somewhat uncomfortable conversation about how controlling he can get, how he angers easily when he doesn't get his way, and that he was already throwing a fit over me disrespecting him by leaving. The reason they were all trying to get me to come back and apologize was because he would find some way to make all of them miserable for the rest of the week if I didn't. I told my wife I was really disappointed that she wouldn't side with her husband when I was clearly in the right, and she went sort of quiet. I then asked if they thought this was about house rules because it seemed more like their dad was trying to show me who's in charge. They agreed. Up to this point, I had really done everything I could to not escalate the situation, but I started to get really mad that they were all so afraid of how their dad would react. I decided I needed to push back a bit. I know my wife was mainly here to spend time with her sisters, so who she really gets to see. So I told them all I was going to move to a hotel by the beach about an hour away in San Diego for the rest of the week, and I'd book a second room for them if they wanted all to join. They don't get to go on trips much, so I figured they'd be excited to get a free vacation away from their parents. They know that their dad is probably going to freak out when they leave, but I think they realized the situation had gone too far, so they decided they would come and deal with the fallouts afterwards. So that's where this all stands now. I'm about to check out of my hotel and hit the road for San Diego. My wife and her sisters are coming down in separate cars after their parents leave for work. I fully expect their dad to throw a conniption fit when he finds out that they left without telling him. But I really don't care at this point. I tried to be the bigger person at every turn, and he pushed this all way too far. Thanks again, everyone, for all the insights.
Wow.
That's so funny, and I'm living for it. I'm living for the pettiness. But
See, definitely, I think I understand why they made the choice in the end that they probably did. I probably would have been like, even even if it's hard, if I love my dad enough to be like, "Hey, this is the choice we're making, and here's why," I'd rather tell it to his face and deal with his reaction and still make the choice anyway, personally. But I do
Mhm.
understand where they came from in that, like, they decided to all go, on their own and not worry about it because they wanted to be able to enjoy their weekend together.
Yeah.
Um,
I
but
think
yeah.
I think the saying, and this is not a saying to live by, but I think the saying, um, it's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission, very much
Mhm.
came into play in this situation of like, we're just gonna do it, and then we'll ask for forgiveness later, and we'll see how it goes. Because like, I don't personally, I wouldn't want to get into a giant fight with one of my parents right before I go on vacation, and like they were technically already on vacation, like the husband and
Right.
wife. So their vacation already started off rocky, and like I don't know. I feel bad for the sisters, especially if they live with the parents
Right.
still, and like the husband and wife can go back home, uh, which the sisters may not be able to.
Right.
So very,
Fun
very
times.
interesting.
Mhm.
There's one that's short but has a lot of edits. So,
Gotcha.
but it is, am I the a-hole for refusing to wear jewelry the bride picked? I, 24 female, am a bridesmaid in my friend's 24 male, we will call John, and 25 female, we will call Sarah, wedding. I have been friends with John since middle school, and me and his fiance have also become great friends over the 4 years they have been together. So I, of course, said yes when she asked me to be a bridesmaid. The wedding is in March, and last month we had started discussing bridesmaid attire. First of all, this was posted 3 days ago.
Oh, wow.
If the wedding is in March, why are you just figuring this out now? You're just figuring out what the bridesmaids are going to be wearing?
It just seemed a little bit more delayed for what usual traditional wedding tradition is at this point.
I, even my friends who are very not traditional told me a year in advance on what, at the very least, what color I should be looking for. Like, huh? Anyway, that's just my gripe about it.
Right.
Dresses and shoes have been picked out and ordered, and yesterday, all three of the bridesmaids, including me and Sarah, were discussing all the accessories. And to our surprise, she had already ordered some. It's all gold jewelry. It's beautiful, but the only issue is gold always causes me to break out and become rashy, and she knows this. I told her I couldn't wear it, and she said it was her day and I wouldn't have to wear it for very long, just during the ceremony and pictures. And she didn't think it would be a big deal because, in quotations, it's not like it would kill me. I told her it would still cause me to break out and be extremely uncomfortable and itchy. She called me selfish for not pushing through uncomfortableness for her big day, quotations. I responded by telling her I don't care if she's the bride and it's her day. It doesn't give her the right to force someone to wear something that causes them extreme physical discomfort, and she was the selfish one. I told her if I had to wear that jewelry, I wouldn't be a part of the wedding. The other bridesmaids thinks I'm being too harsh, but my friend John is on my side and has been trying to talk to his fiance and convince her to let me wear different jewelry. Should I be scolded for calling her selfish and refusing to wear the gold jewelry? I guess one of the edits I can say, the first one is I texted her and gave her some of the suggestions like a coating I could wear. She doesn't want to risk ruining the jewelry because it was expensive, and she said I can wear fake look-alike. The problem now is she wants me to pay for the new fake accessory since I was unable to wear the one that she purchased. I am already extremely on a tight budget, and have been taking extra time on work to set money aside for the hotel and travel expenses for their wedding. So, I I don't necessarily think that they like I don't know. I have a thing with the word selfish. I don't love it.
Mm,
I feel like it's loosely thrown around. Um like I don't think that they I don't think that the person telling the story is selfish. They were setting a boundary.
mhm,
Coming from the standpoint of her sounding like a bridezilla, I think she's going to be more mad later when the photos of the bridesmaid come back and one of the bridesmaids has a giant red rash running up her chest from where the necklace sits or the earrings or the bracelets or wherever the jewelry is placed. I think
mhm.
she'll be more mad that the bridesmaids have a giant rash. And granted that can be photoshopped, but like if you knew that they had an allergy, why didn't you at the very least talk to them about it
Right.
before ordering? That's my biggest thing.
Yeah. Like it feels, I mean, in this one, it feels a lot less like visceral than some of the other ones that I know can be cases where it's like this big dramatic deal.
Yeah.
Um, I think, I think
It's
the tricky
very
part is, yeah,
minuscule in regards to like
yes,
the overall problem.
right. But I do agree. I think that I don't think, I mean, I guess I can relate to this because I tend to have a lot, I've got very sensitive skin as well. And if I've got any like metals that sit on my skin for too long, I immediately start like having issues.
Oh,
And
okay.
so
Mhm.
I can relate to that, in terms of, like, where that comes from, and so I think if her friend was aware of that, or at least if her friend was incredibly aware, 'cause I know sometimes when you're planning weddings, unfortunately, those things can sometimes get a bit, like, in the background. You don't always think of them nearly as much, even if you know your friend that way, you might not think, "Oh, yeah, I forgot," this kinda thing.
Mhm.
I think it's more her reaction of like, just put up with it, suck up with it for my day. That kind of irks me a little bit. But I think it seems like I'm sure there's probably more edits you mentioned that are there, but at least from the initial one, it seems like there was at least an attempt to try and fix the issue, or make a compromise, um, within reason. But I do think, yeah, at that point, I think it would have been more responsible for the bride to maybe have said, "Okay, I'll return this piece of jewelry
Mhm.
and then get you something that will work, and we can fix it with that." Or just understand that you might not have jewelry, and that's okay. Instead of being picky about it. Um, but yeah, I'm more of the opinion that I don't think she should be scolded for refusing to wear the jewelry when it's something that would be kind
Yeah.
of harmful to her body.
I think when it comes to like wedding situations, like things are always going to be like you said, um blown up a lot because there's like so many stresses. So like every little thing that like happens is going to like make it worse.
Mm,
And yeah, I don't know. I think the bride was I don't think she was selfish, but I think she was rude when saying like you need to push through. And like I excuse me. I hate the whole like I don't know, maybe I'm just like such a people pleaser, but I hate the whole like it's my day, so like you need to listen to me. And it's like,
mm.
okay, I do, but like not if you're gonna be a B word about it.
Yeah.
Like I'm very stubborn in that sense where it's like I want to make sure that you're having a good time and everything goes well and like I don't know. I feel like a part of me would be like, uh, can we not maybe instead of just like outright being like F you, like you're
Right. There's gotta
selfish.
be some mutual understanding there.
Yeah. So the edit later, they were voted not the a-hole. um but the edit later was apparently Sarah had talked to John about the whole thing and he was on my side of the situation. She messaged me and told me after that she had talked to him about it and she realized she was taking things too far and said she's not going to make me pay for the replacements. She apologized and said she's been stressed and she didn't realize the extent of my allergy. I accepted her apology so we can move forward, but it still bothers me a little that even if she thought my allergy was very mild, she was still expecting me to suffer through an allergic reaction for her wedding. Um, just because I feel like it needs to be said, I am allergic to gold. No, I am not allergic to nickel. Yes, it is a possibility to be allergic to gold. This comment section has made me realize that my friends may have truly been ignorant and uneducated on the allergy, since there are people in the comments just straight up thinking gold allergies aren't a thing. Damn. Oh my god. You can literally be allergic to anything. Like,
Mhm.
that's really funny. But I'm glad that she apologized. And I understand where like
Yes.
this person is coming from of like, damn, she really like regardless of the severity was still like, yeah, you can be uncomfortable.
Right.
So a little questionable.
Yes.
But um would you like to move on to the Q&A section because we've got a lot of
Sh-
questions.
That's true. We do have a lot of questions. We want to go through more of them today
Yes.
because there's a lot of things you guys asked, and we want to make sure we can follow up with them.
Yeah. I am going to pull we can do the two questions from the anonymous uh submissions. That's the word I was looking for. Um
Yes.
and if you guys want to ask us any questions, feel free to leave a comment on the podcast. Feel free to leave a comment on YouTube. You can put a question in our Discords. You can tweet it at us, or you can use the anonymous link if you don't want if you want your question to be anonymous.
Exactly.
And the first one is, did you expect the family to grow this big? And I'm assuming they're referring to the hypothetical platonic family that we have, question mark.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you're more involved in this side of thing, or you hear more about it maybe, because like I
Yeah,
have people coming
probably.
into like my Twitch chat being like, so what does that make me? What does that make us? Blah, 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 blah. If this and like, how does the family tree? And I was like, I don't know. You guys made the family tree. I'm just living in it, you know?
Yeah.
This is your world.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just here. So
Exactly.
like, I don't know if they're meaning in a general aspect of it, of like this whole platonic grandparents joke. I did not expect it to go far, but here we
Right.
are basing a podcast off of it. So,
It's true.
you know,
I mean, I
thoughts.
guess like yeah, I guess for me, I certainly didn't expect it. Like, because even I hear that question, I think generally speaking to like just the family of viewers who come and watch our content too, because that's ultimately work distills down to of people
Yeah.
we've come to trust and who consider themselves like our family because we have that sort of parasocial relationship with a lot of our fans, and even then, there's some who it does get beyond that to some extent. Like there are people who we talk to on a more regular basis because they have invested time and energy, and there's a mutual investment. Um, and I do think it's really cool that we have a really like both you and I think are really privileged that we have a lot of people who are very kind who
Mhm.
watch our streams and who help to foster communities that are encouraging and positive, and even when
Yeah.
things are tragic or feeling a bit more dreary, people can come together and still encourage one another and inspire them to do the best they can in their day. And so, um, I didn't really anticipate that there'd be so many people in that sense. I mean, even if our numbers aren't like tremendous, but like even if we're getting still our dedicated, between 10, 20 people who come to our
Yeah.
streams every time we stream, that's 10 to 20 people. That's I mean, if
That's a
that's, like,
lot.
as big as, like that'd be, like, double size of my direct family at the very most. That's a substantial amount of people when you think
Yeah.
about it, really.
It's our
And so
classic
it's
house party size.
yeah, exactly. So I think I didn't expect that, and I think it's really cool that that's maintained itself, and I think the family, quote, unquote, has
Mhm.
continued to get closer as we have spent more time together doing more things.
Yeah. I think my favorite thing about like having a community is when like people within the community find each other or like find interests outside of like
Mhm.
what we do. Like if we play a game and like people come in and they can like talk about it. Like that's my favorite thing is when I like see people talking in chat about like if I'm playing Genshin and they're like going back and forth of like who their favorite characters are, or like what happened in this and like you guys the other day when you came into my stream like people were discussing the like lore of it and like people were
Right.
helping me, but like they were also involved in like the conversation about Genshin and like I don't know. I just really like when people like get involved and like
Yeah.
find people with similar interests through us.
Exactly. and the conversation's like then it's not even about you anymore. It's just about the community that's been created.
Yeah.
Like there's people who will come in my chat specifically who like I know they would never have probably interacted with each other had it not been for going to the mutual streams. And now they do recordings together in a similar way to like how Rhino and I used to do recordings together. And like that for me is really cool to think about people having created friendships because they came to streams and had a mutual interest in watching the streams and then found out they had other things in common and spend time in that way.
Mhm.
And that's really cool. Um, so I
Yeah.
think it's just yeah, I think it's just neat that we got people who have done that and taken that extra step to become friends with each other.
Yeah. You guys are really cool. That's what we're saying indirectly.
Yeah.
um, this one is an advice question. I feel like I went back in time to the worst time of my life. I'm trying to take a break, but it makes things worse. Any advice for stuff that can help? I think
Mm.
what they're referring to is like maybe like reliving like past events that happened. Um,
Mhm.
Now, I just want to preface this. We are in no way, shape, or form therapists. So anything that we
No.
say in regards to advice is like personal experience, what we and like what we know, even if it's like maybe not 100% true. Me speaking about me specifically.
Mhm.
Um, but honestly, like it takes time to like truly move on. And like you don't really move on from things. It just becomes easier over time. Um If this is something that, like I don't know what the specific scenario is, but if it's something that's, like, coming back up constantly, I would try and figure out the trigger for it. So if it's just, like if you see something and it's coming back up or something happens and you're, like, reliving it, I would try and identify, like, the trigger for it and then maybe try to avoid said trigger. I don't know how good of advice that is, but, like, like, find things to healthily distract. If it's something that is like truly, truly bothering you and you can't get away from, then like I would probably seek like I don't want to be like, yeah, seek a therapist, but like therapy is a good resource and they will give you a
Right.
bunch of like things that you can do to work on like cognitive behavioral therapy, which is something that like I went through and that I like still work on. Um But yeah, I don't yeah.
Yeah.
Healthy
And I think
distractions.
right. Well, I think because ultimately I feel this way sometimes too about certain things that I tend to be a person who, if I'm not doing something, sometimes it means that my mind will think about that thing more because I'm trying to like avoid it or like be like I don't want to like think about this issue, so I'm going to try and go do something
Oh.
else. And then because I'm not working on that thing, my brain that likes to get things done will look at that and be like, "No, I'm just going to think about it all day." You're not going to think about anything else but the fact that
Mhm.
this isn't happening. And so, again, we don't have any real context on, like, what specifically is helping you to feel this way, but, you know, taking a break maybe isn't the approach you need to take. Um,
Mhm.
it might be worthwhile to think about, like, really tackling those emotions that you're feeling. Again, like even Mousy said, like, consider talking to someone that you trust or getting, like, a therapy kind of session of someone who you can just kind of be able to speak to and be able to get some things out. Because sometimes, at least in my opinion, addressing those things head on is what will clear them up. Um,
Yeah.
I'll have times where, like, I'll talk with, like, my mom for me is, like, one of my most trusted people I can share everything with, and sometimes there'll be times, like, we'll finish dinner and, like, we're just doing normal stuff, and I'm, like, about to, like, go to my bedroom and hang out, and then, like, something will, like, catch my mind and, like, we'll start talking, and then we've sat there talking for, like, 50 extra minutes because, like, we had something that was on our mind we just needed to, like, get out, and then we're like, "Oh, well, now we've had a chance to talk about it, we feel a lot better." It's not been festering on us anymore. Um, and sometimes we're rehashing a lot of things we've been thinking for years.
Mhm.
Um,
Oh, wow.
so so like, like just because again, when you've lived for 26 years,
Yeah.
for me, there's things that even though they happened 10, 15 years ago, we might still bring them back up again. Like my
Oh,
parents are
yeah.
divorced, so like we talk about that sometimes even in day-to-day life because like my dad got remarried, so like there's all these other things, so like we sometimes will bring up those emotions back from 12 years ago and still talk about like what happened at that time.
Mhm.
And so again, all that to say, don't be afraid to to address those things if you think it's going to be helpful for you. If avoiding talking about or thinking about is what's making you feel more anxious about it, then see if tackling it head on can make a difference. But again,
Yeah.
not licensed therapists, don't know
Yes.
the
No.
true
Yeah. No. No.
reality,
No.
but that's another approach to possibly take
You want to
with regards to that kind
identify
of thing.
the like what it is. Um, and I can actually maybe I'll try and find like a picture of it, or if I can't, maybe I'll post it on our Twitter. But there is a like chart of like negative um thought processes, and
Mm,
I'll post that resource there because it could be something that might help you identify, and then you can like start working towards tackling that head on. Because if it's something that's like out of your control, maybe the way of like the way you're thinking of it and like the way you're approaching it might need to be the thing that changes as well. It might not just be like that could be the way of tackling it, in a sense of like maybe it's just changing the way that you view the problem.
mhm.
But I have a scratchy throat. But moving on,
Mhm.
would you like to pick a
Yeah,
question, Kano, from our
I can go through a question.
plethora? And I have added
Yes.
more since you have added them.
No, I saw. I was like, I realized this list has gotten longer. Um, I
Yes.
guess
We love
one
the questions. Thank
question,
you guys.
yeah, there because there are a few that kind of touch on the same thing, so I might just kind of lump sum them a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
But basically, a number of people have asked us specifically, like, what caused us to start content creation and Twitch?
Mm.
Like,
Mhm.
what got us into the sort of the field that we're in, and if there's any tips we have on what we have from that experience. Um, so I guess since I'm the one asking the question, Mousy specifically, would you mind sharing like sort
Oh,
of like a
sure, yeah.
brief synopsis of how you got started with streaming? And then if there's any like I guess maybe a way to put it, like, is there any like one particular thing that like you're like, if I
Ooh.
had to tell someone a tip about streaming or about getting started streaming, this would be the one thing I'd need to make sure that I say to them if I had to choose one thing.
Okay. I'll try and be brief on it. But um mine is very simple. I got into streaming specifically because my ex-boyfriend, who I am still friends with, literally was like, "Do Twitch." I was doing YouTube. I was doing trying to make my own content on YouTube, and I was working for other YouTubers at the time of like doing like voice acting and like helping out with recordings. Um, and when I had met him, I didn't even know Twitch existed. And he went,
Mm,
"Yeah, it's a live streaming service. Like it's way more like if you like the interactiveness of like one-to-one conversations with people, which I did, he was like, "Yeah, just start streaming." Like it you don't have to do it often, you can just do it, like, once or twice a week,
mhm,
and, like, I don't know, like, people he in his opinion, he's not a content creator, I should preface that. In his
mm,
opinion, he felt like it was a lot easier for, people to blow up on Twitch. I wasn't looking to blow up, but also gain, like, a following, especially because I am female. I will not
mm.
sit here and say that that is not something that is factored in, but I will say
Female?
I know. I will say that yes, it might seem like it's a lot easier for female content creators or people who are feminine content creators to get a faster following. But if you look at the top 1% of Twitch streamers, um, majority of them are male.
Mhm.
There's only a handful that are female that are, like, up there and, like, big and successful. Um, Tips, however, I say this all the time, consistency and availability. So, you wanna be streaming a lot, and obviously not everyone can do that, but I say this in the sense of just streaming whenever you can. Don't make a schedule. Don't try and stick to anything. Just try and stream when you can and stream to multiple platforms. Because on Twitch, as soon as you well, they actually changed it, I think now. But I don't really trust how well it might be. But if you're just getting to affiliate on Twitch, stream everywhere. Put your content everywhere. Because you can multi-stream from Twitch to YouTube at the same time. So you can have both chats up. You can also stream on TikTok now. So finding like I've seen people where they stream on Twitch, their game and their face cam, and then on TikTok they're just streaming their face or they're just streaming the game. And I think like getting as many platforms under your belt as you can and being consistent with like going live all the time will help you kind of grow. That's the one thing that I would always say to people outside of like being yourself. Because but I feel like that has been said enough by people.
Mm.
People are going to gravitate to your personality and how you present yourself. Don't be fake because the facade's going to drop one day and people are not going to like you and you're going to lose people because you weren't being genuine. But I feel like everyone says that and it's like it's just like a known fact at this point. So that's my one advice, I guess. Kano, how did you get started?
Well, I wasn't unfamiliar with streaming because I had already done a bit of streaming with for the YouTube channel that I ran with my friend Rhino. We still run it technically speaking.
Mhm.
And we still do live streams on it every week. But we had gotten to this habit of live streaming every week on one day at least in midst of posting role plays, just because we wanted to have an opportunity to talk with our community and get to really engage with people and have fun. Because that was really what we wanted to do was just have people around that we could hang out with.
Yeah.
And so we'd already kind of gotten used to that in that space a little bit on YouTube. Um, and then in terms of going to Twitch, it really kind of stemmed from this idea that I was familiar with what it was like to stream, but I wanted to have an opportunity to stream on my own. And similar to what you kind of gained from your former boyfriend,
Mhm.
I had heard that Twitch was a better place to go when you want to be able to kind of grow as a creator. While YouTube is great for people maybe who would come to know you, or if they're looking for videos, it's great. But
Mhm.
I don't often think of like I go to YouTube to watch live streams, and so Twitch automatically came to mind, and so that's kind of how I got started with streaming regularly on Twitch. Was just because I wanted to have a place where I could go for myself that'd be not associated with the brand that I had on YouTube, that would kind of allow me to
Yeah.
do my own thing in that way. Um, so that's really how that got started there. Um, in terms of tips and advice, I would say, I mean, what Mousy mentioned is already pretty important. Like consistency is big. But I think for me, what I found most useful, um, is just you know finding games that allow you to I maybe it's just because of me as a smaller streamer, but finding games that you can play that either allow you to be able to carry your viewers with you on a journey, or they give you a chance to talk to people still.
Yes.
Um,
I fully
because
agree.
what I struggle with especially is if I ever find games where it's like, "Oh, yeah, I'm playing this game, but I can't really pay attention to who is, watching," then suddenly there's no engagement. There's no real enjoyment for people, when they feel like they get ignored or not talked to.
Mhm.
Um, I like, and this maybe this is my perspective. I feel like when I watch big streamers, like they'll sit around the same number of viewers all the time, but those who tend to get more and more people coming in are those who actually talk to chat or make reference to do it. Like there's this Genshin streamer I've recently watched because he had some TikTok content that Mousy introduced me to, Doro. But like
Oh.
I watch his streams back and he actually like he talks to his community. He has mods that he regularly is mentioning while he's doing his games. Like he is engaging with his chat
Yeah.
while playing these games, and he doesn't come off of like across as affronting or anything. And I'm like, wow, that's really good. Like that's something that you do because it takes a lot of effort to kind of make that thing achievable.
Mhm.
But he can only do that because he chooses games that aren't like things he has to focus on. Like I think about like games like Overwatch. In my opinion, those games are really hard to stream because
Yeah.
you have to focus all the time on what you're doing. Even with like League of Legends, for example, like I don't take my face off the screen because I'm so focused on what I'm playing.
Mhm.
Um, Whereas games like Genshin, games like Minecraft, there's a lot more flexibility where you can talk to people while you're streaming and you don't have to focus on just like beelining your way through whatever action you're going through. Obviously, it's not to say that there aren't people who play games like that and who have a really big following, but there are people who somehow have really done a good mastery of how do I engage with chat while still playing a game
Yeah.
that's hard to really do that with.
I was gonna
So
I
that
was gonna add to that, like, of if you're like if you're like top tier at the games that you love and you're like not competitive and you're not trying to like sweat the game out and you're
Mhm.
just like having a good time and like don't care if you die in like FPS games, for sure, stream them. Like
Right.
whatever happens, happens. But like uh definitely like with the engagement. And I was gonna say a little side tangent. I have noticed that you've stopped playing League as often. Um, is that why? Because you feel like you're not
Partially,
interacting?
I mean, it helps that like the the people I used to play with, I don't play with as quite as regularly. But it really just is, yeah, it's one of those games that I personally have a hard time playing it and talking with people. Whereas like when I'm doing my streams with my friend Midnight on Tuesdays, we get to play Team Fight Tactic, which is a very similar. It's got the League IP, but it's a lot slower paced, and you're not like playing an
Yes.
active game. It's more like a shuffling auto chess game. I can
Yeah.
still pay attention to my chat, talk with people a lot more regularly, and as someone who's built a community like that, that's something really important to me. So if that's something you want to foster, if you're looking to create a community with your stream, playing games that are conducive to that is really good. It's a good
Yeah.
idea. Even playing like when I played FNAF, it was really easy because I could just have the thing right there and I could be
Yeah.
scared and horrified and having people there because it's still slow paced.
Oh,
But if
you
it's like
mentioned
a if
FNAF.
it's
We're
a
gonna get
game.
1,000 views on this now.
FNAF view.
FNAF, FNAF, FNAF. No. I would say like add to the commentary thing and like interacting with your chat. I'm sure you're gonna be like, well, what if I don't have a following yet? What if I'm just like just starting out, blah blah blah. Just keep talking, like always. I know it sounds really stupid and like talking to yourself is like really annoying, but if you're like me and you just talk to yourself normally when you're like in your house, like for instance, like you're going to the bathroom and like if
Mhm.
like I'll get up to go to the bathroom and be like, okay, once I'm done going to the bathroom, like I'm gonna go downstairs and like need to do XYZ. And then when I come back, I'll get started on this. Like I'll say that out loud because I'm like,
Yeah,
why am I saying it in my head? No one's here to hear me. No one, it
exactly.
doesn't matter. So, and it sounds stupid, but you want to keep talking because there are going to be people who might come across your stream and pop in. And if you're dead silent, they're not going to want to talk. They're not going to
Right.
want to engage with with you first because people are shy. So like keep talking and then someone could come in at a point where you're talking about something that they also like and then they'll start talking with you. There's so much advice. Also, don't call out lurkers. It's really cringe, okay? Just that I know you said one, but like yeah, anyway.
No,
There's
you're
so
fine.
much I
Though
have so
though
much
I though I
advice when it
will
comes to
though I
Twitch.
will say calling out lurkers versus saying you appreciate lurkers are two very different things.
Yes. Sorry. I should yeah,
Like
I should
like
preface
like
that
like
like
yeah,
that.
like don't call out people and be like, "Hey, why aren't you guys talking? Like this is really sad." Like,
Don't go
but
to your
like,
viewer
but
list and be like, "Hey, person, how are you doing?" Like they just some people just want to
yeah,
lurk. Sometimes they just want to watch the
exactly.
game that you're playing. Like
Mhm.
don't do
Me.
that. Just
Me. Even
re-
with my own friend streams, it's me. I'm like, I don't want to talk in
reference
your stream. I just want to watch you, and I say nothing. And it's
like
like,
like reference the lurkers as lurkers. Like just be like, "Thank you lurkers." And like what I do is when someone follows as well, I try and start a conversation with them by just prompting them like, "I hope you're having a good day." Or like whatever, because sometimes they might just follow because they like want to follow your content, but they're also lurking and they're shy and they don't know what to say. So if you
right.
give them that prompt, they could answer. And if they don't, oh well, move on. They clearly just want to lurk. Who cares? Just like, don't, in my humble but very, very blunt opinion, don't call out lurkers. Thank them, don't call them out. It's cringe and it can very much affect because they could leave after that. They could be like, nope, don't like this guy.
Yep.
That was
Nope. Nope.
weird.
Bye bye. Hmm.
But keeping on the subject of Twitch, how long did you have you done Twitch for? Like, what year are you coming up on? Because I'm pretty sure I'm coming up on my 5th year of
Yeah, that's
streaming.
pretty impressive.
I've been streaming
I
since
think for
2018.
me, I think for me, in terms of Twitch streaming, it's still only been, I guess, like a little over 2 years. because I
Okay.
technically started the December before Eden really got going, so
Hmm.
I
And
haven't
then I
really
helped
been
you with your
doing.
stuff.
Yeah. So Twitch has been probably like a little bit over 2 years at this point for me.
Nice.
How about for you? How long have you been doing Twitch for?
In August? No. So here's the thing. I started in 2018. I streamed like once or twice in July, and then I didn't pick it back up until like the end of August or
Mhm.
September-ish area. I don't really know. Um, but it was around like summertime. So this year in July, it'll mark 5 years of streaming.
Wow.
It's a lot.
You're
And
gonna be an old bean.
I am gonna be an old bean. I enjoy streaming so much, even if I know some people look at 10 viewers as a lot, some people will look at it as a little, and they might even look at 5 years and be like, "Wow, you're not bigger yet, blah blah blah." A lot of factors went into the fact that I am just in the past year or two really finding games, which is what Kano mentioned, games that I like and that I
Mhm.
can talk to my community with. I used to do all sorts of game. I wanted to be a variety streamer, but then I was like, no. Unfortunately, you kind of got to pick a niche, whether that be a broad niche like Minecraft or RPGs, or you literally play a game that you like to the ground. like, like there are Apex streamers who are Apex streamers, and when they do other games, they don't always get viewers, but you want to create that fan base on a game before
Mhm.
venturing out to other games, because a drop from 10 to 0 because you're playing a game that people don't like is a lot more substantial than a drop from 100k to 90 or 80k
Right.
viewers, depending on how big you are. I don't really know. But yeah, that's kind of where I went with it. In regards to content creation, um I just I met some people in college and they were really into gaming, and I kind of dabbled in games here and there, not really, but then I kind of got more heavily into it, and then I had I don't know, ever since I discovered YouTube, I had very much been I want to create content. I They were so cringy, but I used to record haul videos, like clothing haul videos.
Ugh. I
Yeah.
see.
So it's just me on a webcam being like, I bought this. I got this. It's just they will never see I don't even think I think I deleted them. I don't have them anymore, and they will
You're like,
never see the
"No,
light of day.
no."
Um so then when I got introduced to gaming and gaming content and Twitch and all that, I was like, okay, and this it kind of really drived that love and hate for gaming. So,
I gotcha. Yeah,
yeah.
for me it's pretty similar. General content I mean, I've said the story many times, so the abridged version is that I was in college,
Yep.
was loving Minecraft, found a Gizzy Gaza video for a Star Wars map. I was like, "Ooh, this guy's cool." Applied to be a body actor when an opening showed up,
Yep.
got involved in Minecraft role plays,
That's how I
and
started.
then he gave me an opportunity to be a voice actor, or not, he gave me the opportunity to do skin making for him.
Mhm.
I used the money that I got from skin making to buy myself a microphone, did voice acting for him, and then he randomly gave myself and Rhino a chance to have our own YouTube channel, and then we kind of became content creators through that and
Mhm.
got to know people through that opportunity. So
And you were
that's sort of how
were
that.
you writing episodes for him or no? You were just voice acting in them?
I that came later.
Ah, okay.
When I
Okay, okay.
first doing stuff with him, I didn't really do like
Yeah,
stuff with him, though I did help him with his first Clue season, and I've helped him with every Clue season since.
which is so cool
So
to
there
me.
is that. Yeah,
And I
it's pretty cool.
pretty much beat for beat, exact same thing happened to me. I came across some YouTubers, then I found out one of them did a role play, applied to be a body actor, was like, "Hey, you don't have a lot of female voice actors. Can I be one? Do you need them?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll give you a chance." And then it just spiderwebbed from there. So, network,
Yeah,
meet people.
makes a difference. Never be afraid to shoot your shot when it comes to those kinds of things,
Exactly.
because you never know what you might find.
Well, do you want to answer one more speed round
Yeah.
and then we can
Yeah, I
move
think
on
we
to the
can
game?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Okay. Do you want to ask the question first, or you want me to ask? Well, I guess you've asked you the questions, I guess, technically afterwards. So I will answer this one. This one I think is a fun one. It's hard. There's one question I am not going to necessarily choose to answer, but it's because I want to really have time to think about it, and I just didn't get a
I
chance.
know what
So
question
when I
you're
can
thinking
leave, I
about.
want to save it.
Yeah.
But okay. Let's go with this hypothetical scenario then. What would you do? What would your reaction be
Mm.
if you were swapped to the other gender for a whole week?
Oh
So if you
God.
were a male Mousy,
If I was a
what would
man.
what would you do? What would be your reaction be to that situation?
I'm a man. I don't do any of that mentally ill stuff. Sorry. This is a TikTok. If I was a guy, oh my God.
For a whole week.
For a whole week. Honestly, it sounds really dumb, but like probably the classic that you see in all like gender swap movies. The first thing I would do is like be like, oh, and like, look what I got, you know? Be like, oh, okay, that's there now, cool. But I don't know, like, I think, do I know it's for a week? Am I aware of this situation, or
I
is this like
think
spawned on me?
I guess because there's not really any rules for it. I would say so. Like if it's magically swapped, I'm assuming you're aware that this is either something you asked for or something that someone else has done to you, like as a curse
Mm.
in classic gender swap formula.
Oh gosh. I don't know what I think like I feel like I'd be really freaked out in the beginning and like I wouldn't know how long like if it was forever and like a couple days started to pass then I'd be like okay like maybe I should like go buy some clothes that are going to like fit me. But
Hmm.
I don't really know. I feel like I'm too honest and I feel like I would just be like forthright with like the people I work for and like my friends and be like, "Hey, this thing happened. I don't really know how long it's for, but I mean, it happened. What can we do about it?" Because like in regards to voice acting and my job, things might change. I wouldn't be able to play Maya anymore. Hey, it's Mark. Like, like, oh gosh, I don't know. And like, we are in a generation and era where like transitioning and like gender fluidity and like things like that are just so widely starting to be accepted more that I feel
Hmm.
like no one would really care or bat an eye. And I probably could just like live my life as I was. It would just like things would need to change. Um, I think it'd be cool. I'm not like I don't know. This might get like really existential, and people might be like, "Are you questioning your gender?" Very much she, her. But if I was a guy, I'd be like, whatever. Oh well.
Hmm.
If I felt like a guy, I'd be a guy. I'm not really like, as of right now, I'm not a they or non-binary. Like I very much like was born a female. I feel feminine. I enjoy being feminine. I like being tomboyish sometimes, but I don't know if I would ever be fully a guy. I think being a guy would just be like a really good perspective because they do go through a lot of stuff that people don't talk about. Maybe I would become a spokesperson. Maybe I would like or like what are those people called when they go on like tours and they like speak to people?
Like a motivational speaker
Yeah, maybe I'd become a motivational speaker because like
for a
honestly,
week.
like for a week, yeah. Like living as like a uh living as someone who's female like her entire life and then going and like seeing it from the opposite side of things. I don't know, like I could gather a lot of knowledge from like my male friends and probably like experience a lot of the same things because like they go through like just as many hardships, but they just don't talk about it. So like I would want to be a voice for them, you know?
Right. I
You
get
can
you.
already be a voice, but I feel like I don't know.
Yeah, you have a different position of power that you could work from that would allow you to speak to certain things.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
Men
Hmm.
listen to men more than they listen to women. but
Yeah. But I do think it
not
also works the
all,
other way around
obviously.
too. I think most women also listen more to other women than they do to men. At
Hmm.
least in the circles that I exist in. Um,
Yeah. What would you
which
do?
is ironic. For
You probably have like a
me,
way better answer, and like I've thought about this.
no,
I don't know.
I see where too, because when you brought up the idea of like, if you were a guy, like you feel like it wouldn't bat an eye about like how your gender identity would go.
Hmm.
And I do feel like for me it'd also be very similar that like for me being male, like I accept that that's part of me and that's
Hmm.
like I'm content with that and like I'm not worried about it. But if I was a girl, I'd be like, okay, like cool, I'm a
Sure.
girl. Like that's fine, sure, why not? I'll take it. Like
It would feel really
it
weird.
yeah, but, like, it wouldn't impact my psyche to, like, the point of, like, I wouldn't feel like my whole identity was ruined now because I was a girl as compared to a
Yeah.
boy. Like, I feel secure enough in who I am as a person that that part doesn't it's part of who I am, but it's not everything. Um,
Yeah.
and so I feel like if I were to be a girl for a week, I think for one thing, I'd probably be
Your
really
sex
scared
doesn't
of
define
some
you.
things because I would be nervous to go out places
Oh yeah.
by myself. I would want to be with other people. Not that I ever go anywhere like out, but like my usual like sometimes like going to the walks, just like to go walk downtown. I might be a little
Yeah.
more like trepidatious about it because just wouldn't know what would happen. I feel like I would be really worried about how to dress myself properly because
Mm.
not that I am because I'm very modest in general,
Mhm.
as a boy, but like just thinking about like the things that like boys can get away with so much more in terms of dressing
Like a
things than
t-shirt and
girls can.
shorts,
Like
and they're just
I
like
feel like I'd
chill.
I'd probably dress very tomboyish because I'd be like I just need to dress something. I wouldn't wear anything to be incredibly flattering. Um,
Yeah.
I feel like, I also be really concerned about making like, I'd really hope it wasn't, like, during a week where, like, my period would be if I was a girl, because that would be the worst week ever. I'd be like, "This sucks. I'm a girl, the 1 week that I have a period, ugh!"
I would
It'd
hope
be
for that. I would hope that I would get gender swapped on my period so that I can not have it for the week. And then when I come back, it's gone.
it's
It's
gotta
like,
be
oh,
like,
it's
I'm
over.
sure I'm sure that's gonna be some, like, fan fiction writer out there, think about it one day. Just make a fan fiction about,
Oh yeah, yeah.
an individual who, whenever they're on their period, they turn into a boy for a week, and that's just
Oh
their
my
life, is that
god.
instead of being on a period, you are cursed with always being a boy when you'd be on a period. I feel like I don't know if people would be more preferential to that or not, because I feel like that would, like
I
that
take the
would be really
period. I
interesting.
wouldn't want to have to go through the hassle of having like two IDs and like being like, yeah, guys, I'm a boy this week. Sorry, can't join any
Yeah.
recordings or can't do this or having to like explain to my Twitch community
Yeah.
like I'm on my period, guys, which
But,
means
like,
that I'm a
imagine,
guy.
you only have to deal with it, like, when you're not pregnant and before you're in menopause. Like,
True. After
just, like
50, I
'cause
could
when
just be a woman the whole time. I get a hot flash, I turn into a guy. It's like,
or it's like, "What
thank you, Mother
happened to
Nature.
you?"
Mother Nature's like, I got
Um,
you, homie.
yeah, but yeah, otherwise, I think, like, reaction would be I don't know, it'd be kinda boring. I feel like it just like, okay, I just things
Mhm.
I would probably sing all the song covers I possibly could because I know if my ranges
Ooh,
stay similar, I can hit some really high stuff. I'd be like, "Yes, please. This would be great."
that's true.
I could, like, pre-record all this audio for, like, duets, and then, like, when I changed back, I could, like, do the other half and be like, "Wow, this sounds really great."
Oh my
I have
god.
both parts figured out.
I know what I would do. I'd make a ton of thirst traps and make like a whole like TikTok persona and just like rake in a bunch of money and like post like I would spend like a whole day like making
Mhm.
TikTok thirst traps and then just like post them over like a couple of months and just like make
Yeah,
money off my TikToks.
and then you'd, like, ghost everyone at the end. They'd be like, "What
Yeah.
happened? Where'd this
Be like, "Oh
person
my
go?"
god,
And you'd be like, "I
so
don't know."
aloof." Yeah.
Man, that'd be yeah, I feel like that'd be my life. It'd be basically just all that. I really don't think there'd be much else I would try to do with my time. That turned into a much bigger question than I thought it would. Um,
Yeah.
Mousy, what's your last question you want to ask before we move to the game?
Oh god. I really like what's your most favorite game of all time? Because it's
Ooh,
quick and easy.
okay. Yeah, that's true.
What's your favorite?
You
What is?
think?
I think. Kano, what's your favorite game of all time?
Okay, if I choose my favorite game of
I think I know.
all
I know you're gonna.
time,
I know your answer.
there's two games I would probably slot into this category
Mhm.
ultimately. And I'll explain at the end why I choose one or the other. But the first one would be a candidate would be Star Wars: Knights of the Republic,
Mhm.
classic game.
Mhm.
One of my absolute favorites of all time because it was just
Not Lego
it
Star
was
Wars?
Lego
Gosh.
Star Wars is alright, but, like, Coder is iconic because it was the first, like, Star Wars, like, true like, in my opinion, first, like, real Star Wars, like, RPG title where you get to see, like, these cool characters in development and this
Mhm.
actual mystery that, like, turns out, and it's like, "This is so cool," like, you get all these companions, you get to enjoy, like, using force powers and turn-based, like, battles and exploring these different planets and stuff you knew from Star Wars, like, "This is great, this is really fun, I love this, and the story is so good," and, like, it's still I could play it now and I'd find it enjoyable regardless. Um, so that's one candidate. Second candidate would probably have to be like that's like that's one, and
Mhm.
then the other is I'd have to say it has to be for me. It's funny. I was like saying that, and then I'm like debating. I'm like questioning myself now, like if that's like truly the case. Um, I really liked X-Men Legends, and
Oh.
it was a game I used to play a lot with my dad on the GameCube all the time. Because it's a co-op game and you could play like as Marvel heroes and you know, fight the bad guys. And the story was simple, but like the main point of it is I liked that it was collaborative. I enjoyed that it had cool characters and like the way you could like upgrade them was really customizable. They had like a list of like 20 different powers that you could choose from. Then you could like
Oh,
choose to
wow.
like build on the ones you wanted to have, which I
Mhm.
thought was really cool. Um, and so like you could have like you know my favorite Marvel hero Storm. I could like pick her and be like, oh yeah, I can either choose to like maximize my lightning bolt potential, or I can like go into like tornado mode and just like choose to do like wind based stuff. And I could like figure out which of those two I really wanted to emphasize. Um, and so one I liked because it was a really great single player experience. The other I liked because it was more cooperative. If I had to choose which one I would want to say would be my favorite game of all time, though, the one that I would never want to get rid of,
Mhm.
I would probably choose X-Men Legends
Oh,
because
wow.
if I did that was like the game I played with my dad, and I would never wanna forsake
Cute.
that time for anything.
Yeah.
Though, of course, we played Knights of the Republic together too. I was totally a backseat gamer with that game because I was too young to, like, play it on my own because it was still, like, more like a PG-13 game, but I'd watch my dad play it, and I'd be like, "You should do this, you should do that, point the screen, go there,"
That's
I
so
couldn't play it
freaking
until I was old
cute.
enough,
Oh
but
my
that was what I used to
god.
do. My dad was a really cool guy. He's funny
You
because
say was.
he's
As if he's
no, he
like
still is, but of course not like this is where I get real petty. His current wife does not really care for the fact that he likes video games so much, and so
Ugh,
she tries to
stinky.
limit the amount of time he spends doing things like that. So as a guy who particularly does like video games and loves characters,
Mhm.
that those days when I was a kid, it was cool to see the kinds of games he liked and the fact that he so readily invited me into be in that world with him. Like he wasn't like a Call of Duty gamer, he was like a turn-based strategy kind of guy or like
Yeah.
slow-paced like game dude. And like the fact that he found games we could play together, like is what's made me such a gamer today.
Mhm.
So like that game of all things was the one game that I really felt like I could like be with my dad and have that time with him. So like that'd be my
I'm
ultimate
gonna
favorite game.
cry. That's so cute.
Yeah. So anyways, that's why it's not such a simple question for me at least.
The
How about for
only
you, Mousy?
the
What's your
only
favorite
game my
game?
dad played was like it was like what the heck were those games? Like, you know the sports games?
Hmm.
Or the EA games.
Like
He would play EA Golf. That was the only game that my dad would play, and I would not play it with
I
him.
gotcha.
For me, and I actually came to this realization a while ago because I would always default to like Minecraft because it was like one of the first games that I got into like heavily, and like
Hmm.
I was like, oh, I really like Genshin right now. But honestly, my all-time favorite game is The Last of Us. It is such a
Mm.
timeless story, and I think that like it's one of those games that, like, I will go back to over and over and over again and rewatch the story and bits and pieces from it, and I just, like I am a and I'm gonna get scolded because there specific people find this, but I loved the second one. I would
Mm.
not have changed the pacing of the way that they presented the game because you have to play as this character that you really don't like in the beginning.
Mm.
I don't wanna spoil it. But you have like all the characters that you're used to, and then you have this one character come in that you just instantly hate. The creators make you instantly hate them, and then they make you
Mm.
play as that character for a long time and find out their story
Mm.
and their side of things, which I loved. I love that it invoked that kind of emotion that like I don't want to play as this
Mm.
person. I hate them. I don't like them. But like you're intrigued and you want to know what happens. So you kind of keep going
Mhm.
with it and you kind of like you open up a little bit and you let your like not let your walls down, but like you know what I mean? Like I don't know. And just like the overall story of like redemption and family and or like found family and like
Mhm.
like the post-apocalyptic like setting and like taking it in a new way when it comes to levels of infected and like what people are like working on and how like this would be like a real life situation. um I don't know, I just love the characters. I also just love Ashley Johnson and Laura Bailey and Troy Baker and Ashley Birch and everybody else who worked on The Last of Us as well. But
Right.
it's a game that, like, I will always love, and I came to that realization, like, a couple months ago, and I was like, "I'm sticking with it."
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Solid choice. I get you. I'm curious now, just because I definitely can see why you'd pick that one. I probably would have like immediately been like Slime Rancher if I had to just pick off the top of my head. Because you
I
also really like
do
that game.
love Slime Rancher. Slime
But
Rancher is a very good, farming sim game if you like farming sims, and if you're
yes.
bored of, like, Stardew Valley. The thing that I love about Slime Rancher is that, like, it's a farming sim, but it has lore behind it. Like, I like
Hmm.
that about it, but honestly, when I, like, think of the type of games that I'm really into, which is the lore-based games and story games and things like that, I think The Last of Us, like, the
Right.
entire story start to finish, both parts,
Huh.
amazing. The way they
Yeah.
presented it, character motivations, everything.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
get you. What would have been the game you would have coined me for having as my favorite game?
I for some reason, I thought, like, Bionicle, and then I was like, "Wait, no, isn't that a show?" Or
It
is it
was it was a book series. There was a game for it, but it wasn't my favorite game.
Yeah.
Um,
Or that, like, Harry Potter game that you played a
yeah, like
long
a Harry
time ago.
Potter or the Harry Potter Prisoner of Azkaban game.
Yeah, 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 that one.
Yeah, that one's also a good one, but that one scared me also, so then I was like, "Yeah, maybe not my favorite." Nostalgic, certainly, but not
Yeah.
necessarily favorite. But alright. Okay,
Yeah.
well, with those questions answered then we'll very briefly, because I know we've been going for quite some time now, because we like to
Plug
talk.
how they can ask
Um
questions, Kano,
oh, yeah, right! Yeah,
before
yeah,
you
yeah, sorry, before I move into the
segue.
next segue, because I was so excited, I was like, "Yeah, let's segue," and it's like, "No." If we've got plenty of questions still to pull from for next week's episode, but if you'd like to
Mhm.
have a question be answered, or there's something that came to your mind as something you'd love to have answered by myself or by Mousy, then a part of this podcast, we have a link that's given to an anonymous questioning location,
Mhm.
live ask. You can type an anonymous question there, or if you're part of Mousy or my Discords, respectively, then you can go to one of our Q&A chats and you can ask a question there and just designate it as for the Grandparents Podcast. And we'll be
Yeah.
sure to include it in our list of questions we can answer for our Q&A session for the next session.
Yeah.
Um,
Or you could
but
tweet
yeah,
us or leave a comment on this on Podbean if you
mhm,
have an account.
exactly. If we see it, we will gladly add it. Just make sure you tell us that it's for that purpose.
Yes.
Otherwise, we'll be like, "Oh, that's a really interesting question. I
And
wonder
just
who they're
answer you right
asking
then
it
and
to."
there.
Exactly. Okay. Can I segue now?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. So now we move on to my section I prepare for the podcast, which
Ooh.
is the game segment. So last week I had a good time with the game we had, so I'm going to stick with it this time because I think it's a
Okay,
cool
okay,
one.
okay.
So this week's game is again, which Genshin character said this line? So the game is as stated. Basically, what will happen is I've got 5 different voice lines taken from characters from Genshin Impact, which is a open world style RPG anime game, which both Mousy and I love very much. And there's a lot of lore involved in the game, and these characters have a lot of distinct personalities and say very particular
Mhm.
things. And they have this whole big list of voice lines that barely anyone ever listens to, unless you're me, and I like to listen to the voice lines a lot. And so
I
I know a
don't.
lot of these
So
from the top of my head. But I usually still have to look them up anyway. But basically, I have 5 lines, and Mousie's goal is to try and guess what character this is just based on the dialogue itself. I didn't choose the multiple choice option for this week again, so it's going to specifically be a line. If you need a hint, I'm not opposed to giving you one. I didn't really
okay.
throw that in last week, so I'm giving you that this chance this week. But I want to see if you can guess who the person is just
He's
based on the
babying me,
line
guys.
alone.
Let it be noted.
Yeah. But okay, so I'll start off again. These come from the
Okay.
character's voiceover page. So the first line is this one. Oh dear, everyone's laundry's still on the line. May I be excused to fetch it in? Again,
Okay.
the line is,
Mhm.
oh dear, everyone's laundry is still on the line. May I be excused to fetch it in?
My first instinct is Noelle. But I'm trying to think if there's any other characters that might say that. Um, Trying to think of all the regions because now we have Sumeru that's involved.
True.
Um, I no, I'm gonna stick with Noelle. She's a maid. Like her whole thing is about being a maid, so I feel like she would clean in that.
Well, you would be correct. That
Let's
is indeed a
go.
line of dialogue from Noelle. It's her rainy day dialogue that she mentions. So
Oh,
she's like
cute.
she's like, "Oh no, everyone's still got their laundry outside while it's raining. Can I go get it?" I thought you might get could possibly be like, "Oh yeah, Kano's got Toma. Maybe it's Toma's line."
Ah,
But Noelle is a solid choice. Cool. All right. Next line.
true.
Okay. This one I think is also a pretty good leading line, but I'm curious to see if you make more of it than what it is. Um, but
Mm.
here's the line. Great weather for practicing martial arts, but perfect weather for reading. Hey, what's that ridiculous look for? Read it
Martial
again.
arts and reading? Okay.
Good weather for practicing martial arts, but perfect weather for reading. Hey, what's that ridiculous look for?
Oh no. Um, I have to like go in my head like through all the characters. Martial arts and reading. Oh no, wait, can my hint be their region?
I mean, if you'd like it to be, sure. I think that distills it down
Okay.
in a
Can I
fair
get
way.
can I get the region?
Lewa.
Leeway. Martial arts and reading. Oh. I know who this is. It's Sinchow.
Yeah, it's the Joe.
Yeah, Leeway very much helped. I was not even thinking
Yes.
about him. I was like, martial. I was too focused on the martial arts, but that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yay! Yeah,
Yeah.
I got another point.
Okay.
Let's
That's
go.
that's 2 for 2. That's better than last week. You've already done loads better.
I
Good
don't.
job. I'm impressed.
All right, moving on.
Yeah. All right. Question 3. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Line 3. Okay. This one's another one I think is a pretty good one. My master did a good job of teaching me spear fighting, don't you think? If you want, I could teach you too. Although, I'd much rather teach you my cooking if you're interested. Read it again. My master did a good job of teaching me spear fighting, don't you think? If you want, I could teach you too. Although, I'd much rather teach you my cooking if you're interested.
My first instinct is Toma because he said my master. Um, who else cooks? No one else cooks, right? Well, Amber cooks, but she doesn't. No, she doesn't cook. Never mind. I'm big dumb. I'm gonna go with Toma. I'm just gonna stick to my gut. Toma.
Okay. It is not Toma. It
No.
is from Zhongling.
That makes sense.
Yeah, she is a polearm user and she loves cooking.
Yeah. Toma's also a polearm user.
Yes, I know. It's okay. I tried to use Toma as a fake bait for a lot of these questions. My apologies.
What the heck?
It's more fun that way.
I never heard Jingling, I didn't say her name right.
Yeah. Zhongling.
Jungling, thank you. I've never heard her say my master before. I think that's why I was like, master? Hello?
Yeah. No, it's because she has the relation of like she has her cooking, which is her expertise that she gets from her dad and her family, but then her fighting style comes from outside of that. Like it's
Right.
very separate for her. So that's
Got
why that
you.
exists in that way. All right. Line number 4. This one hopefully is not too tricky, but we'll see. We'll see what
Okay.
you feel. All right. I like the stars at night. So many stars in the sky, in the lake, and in the city. I'll read it again. I like the stars at night. So many stars in the sky, in the lake, and in the city.
First thing that popped in my head was Mona, but then at the same time, I'm like, in the lake. Makes me think of like maybe something Klee would have said to Mona. Maybe? Who else is star related? Layla is star related. Hold on, this is like a side tangent. Where does Mona
Mhm.
come from? Is she from Fontaine?
I think there's some connection to her being from Fontaine, but she's technically a Mondstadt character.
Yes, she's a Mondstadt character, but I just was like, Um, I'm gonna say Mona, but I think it's wrong.
Okay. Well, you'd be right in that it's wrong, but you're on the right track. It's actually a line from Razor.
Oh.
He says it a lot more choppily than I do. I kind of made it sound a
Oh
little more
yeah.
familiar, but he's very much like, I like the stars at night. So many stars in the sky, in the lake, and in the city.
Mm-hmm.
Because he doesn't speak English very well, so
Yeah.
he keeps his sentences very short and brief. But
Yeah.
I thought it's
I
kind of
like
cute.
the
I was like,
stars at
yeah,
night. So many stars.
exactly.
All right. So I have
But you're right in the right way
two.
with stars and childlike, though, which is great.
Yes. I need
All
one.
right.
I gotta get this last one.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. I think this one is the trickiest line, but maybe
Oh,
it'll lead
great.
you. But I also don't know. We'll see. We'll see if
Oh.
if it works. All right. This is the line.
Mm-hmm.
When something is bothering me inside, I stand beneath the secret sakura, close my eyes, and try to calm my mind. When I open my eyes again, the falling blossoms will guide my path. I'll read it again.
Mm-hmm.
When something is bothering me inside, I stand beneath the sacred sakura, close my eyes, and try to calm my mind. When I open my eyes again, the falling blossoms will guide my path.
Mm. So it makes me think of Inazuma characters.
Very fair.
um, how many hints do I get?
I
Just the
mean,
one? Because
I
I'm
would say
fine. I have a
I would
guess.
say I'll give you a hint. One single hint.
Okay.
Your hint is that this is a person who very closely identifies with the Raiden Shogun.
Okay, then yeah. Okay. Because my guess was Yaimiko, but I was like, I can't. If I have a hint, I want to confirm it.
Mhm.
I'm gonna say Yaimiko.
Okay. You're wrong. It is a
What?
line from Kujo Sara.
God damn it! Oh, I forgot about Kujasara. Oh no!
No, I found the line. I was like, this is actually kind of cool. Like most of her lines are like, "Oh hail the almighty Raiden Shogun," and then there's this
Yeah.
one line of just her being like, when I'm feeling bothered inside, I go beneath the sacred sakura,
I just
and I
go and
calm my mind.
stand.
And then the blossoms guide my path. And it's like, wow, she's not so crazy army general as you always think that she is.
Mm.
That's okay though. You you went for the easy bait. But
I did.
but
I
hey, well
did. I got 2.
hopefully yes, you got 2, and hopefully now you've gotten a chance to learn a little more about some characters that you didn't know said certain things.
True. We should do this game with other stuff, like with roomies or something. Which roomies character said this?
I have to go back and like look through some stuff. Then I have to like look back at episodes and
True.
find specific quotes. At least with Genshin, it's like right there. But
Yeah.
fine, I can consider other options if you think it's worthwhile.
I had a certain Skelly boy say that he really liked the episode, but then we we lost him at the Genshin part.
Well, too bad, so sad. Get over it.
Oh my gosh. Well,
You know,
you guys, if you guys are into Genshin, let us know how many you got right. Because I only got 2, even with my hints.
you did all right. I'm proud of you.
Thank
You
you.
did better.
Well, next week we might have to challenge an additional person to some games potentially.
That is true. But it's very
You know?
possible. Because sometimes it's even though we've only done this twice, sometimes I get bored of Mousy already, and so we need to spice things up a little bit.
It's on the record, guys. I'm gonna hold that above his head for the rest of his life.
Okay, this is not under my head. I'll take that.
True. Kano gets bored of me. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Grandparents Podcast. Again, I will let you guys know that if you want to ask questions, you can do so in the Discord, any of the social media that we have set up. And if you want to do it anonymously, you can use the live ask link that you can access through our Twitter, which is at Grandparents Pod, short for podcast. And you can also maybe you could check out Kano and I's social medias. We've got Twitch, we've got Twitter, we've got Discords. All that lovely stuff is over on the Grandparents Pod Twitter as well. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know how many Genshin characters you got right. And yeah. I guess we'll see you next week with some more interesting topics. Kano, is there anything that you would like to say?
I guess I would just say, in honor of Genshin, Happy Lantern Rite.
Happy Lantern Rite. And happy Chinese New Year, too, as well. Because Lantern Rite is based off of that, and they're currently still celebrating right now. So, yeah. But I hope you guys have an awesome day or night, wherever you are, and we'll see you next time. Be good people, do good things. Bye.
Bye.